Good morning. So you may be wondering if you're watching this live and it popped up on your feed or you're looking it through the feed why the topic today is a little different than what I usually do. So it's leave me alone please and thank you. The reason for this is I wanted to catch a lot of attention with the title, but also I wanted to talk about something that's really important to me and to a lot of people. And most people are probably not going to click on it if I write sexual harassment. So the reason for this is because I know that we talk about it a lot. There was the Me Too movement, and that got a lot of talk going and a lot of stuff going, and we talk about it all the time, but there's still a lot to be done with getting people talking about this issue. And there's a lot of really great organizations that are helping women who are being victims of various things like sex trafficking and so on, but I want to talk more specifically where I feel like some of the problems are rooted from, because you don't just wake up one day and say, hey, I think I want to traffic people. It's usually not how it goes. So I have always felt that it stemmed from a lack of respect of a certain group of people. So this can kind of go across the board to anyone. This, I want to specifically aim it towards women, because I always remember things growing up, and it's not I'm trying to bash my parents or anything like that. They were really just looking out for me, but I was always told things like, cover up, be modest, be mindful of where you are, don't go anywhere alone. And I just kind of assume that most people get told this because, when you're little, you don't really know anywhere to compare it to or anybody else to compare it to. But as you get older, you kind of start to look around and see different groups of people, and you start to notice something like, I don't think little boys are told this quite as much. Now, this is not to say that men do not, get victimized just as much as women. They might, and right now, statistics say that they don't anywhere near as often, but I'm also pretty sure that it has to do with something else. So this can apply to you as well. But we get told a lot of things, that we need to take care of ourselves, we need to be extra cautious, and I'm sure every single woman watching has heard it at least once. You get your keys, and I'm going to use this brush, and you put them between your fingers in case somebody attacks you. This is supposed to deter them. And I've seen so many comedians attack this and say, yeah, because keys are scary. Or you get told, like, my mom bought me mace when I was going to college so that in case something happened, I would have it on me. I never tested it the way you were supposed to. Sorry, Mom. But we get given all of these things. There's entire marketing strategies for, like, tasers and mace that is specifically targeted towards women, saying, hey, feel more comfortable when you're going on a jog. Which, I'm wearing my workout clothes for a reason. Where am I supposed to put it? Our clothes aren't designed to hold stuff, and that's a whole nother argument about pockets and so on. But there's all of these things that are telling us to be more careful. Really? You want me to be more careful because somebody else isn't going to control themselves? Now, I wouldn't feel quite so angsty about this if I was being told, be more careful, and then the boy next to me was told, don't be pervy. There's a little balance there. Or, everyone was told, be more careful and don't be pervy. Don't be the problem, don't be the victim. That, to me, is just, I would prefer to hear that than to have someone pull me aside when I go to school and say, hey, you can't be wearing tank tops to school. It's very distracting to the guys. You know what's distracting to me? This Texas heat. It's like 100 degrees outside right now. Why would I not be wearing a tank top? And if I was cold in school, there's a jacket. But why am I being, controlled over what I can wear? I remember in high school there were guys who would wear the full t-shirts. They would cut the sleeves off, and it would go all the way down here and, be held together by a little thread at the bottom. But that was okay. Well, because they're guys. I'm sorry. I would be way more distracted staring at some guy's abs than I would by some girl's shoulders. Oh my goodness. And that's part of the whole problem, is people are blaming women for all of these things that happen. Well, if you didn't want to get whistled at, you shouldn't have worn that tight clothing. This is the athletic wear that people sell. If you go, this is what you buy. If you look at, sports, when you go watch track meets or cross-country runs, nobody is wearing baggy clothing because, first of all, it's hot and you're running and you're building up a sweat and you need to be able to cool off or you will overheat. Second, you need to be able to move, and if you're wearing a lot of baggy clothing, unless it's like the dead of winter, in which case they have all of the warm-ups and the pullovers, you need to be able to breathe. A lot of the clothing that is designed is supposed to be so that it moves with your body. It's a lot more comfortable. It's not constricting. So if you wear jeans, it's not going to stretch as much, whereas something like the leggings that I'm wearing stretch more. So I can do stretches, I can do like yoga, I can run, and I don't have to worry about busting a seam. I'm not wearing this so that you can stare at me while I'm running or while I'm exercising. Just the other day, and I'm a little oblivious to when people flirt with me, but me and my husband went to the grocery store, and evidently this happens to me all the time. I'm just the oblivious girl in the background that has no idea what's going on. But we were at the grocery store, and I like to take my own bags because they're reusable, because it's a different problem. And when growing up with my mom, me and my sisters would bag our stuff, and I just figured out, if you bag all the boxes together and all the heavy stuff together, stuff doesn't get crushed. So I like to bag my own stuff. So if you're ever at H-E-B, there's the register, and then there's the little part where all the food goes after it's scanned, and they bag it. There's not somebody there, which San Antonio is really good about always having somebody there, but sometimes there's not. So I go to the back, I've got all my bags open, and I'm bagging stuff, and I'm grabbing it as it's coming off the conveyor belt, putting it in a bag, it's full, cart, next. And I'm doing my own business. I am grocery shopping. And then I hear from behind me, the sound, when a cart hits something really hard, it kind of shakes and you hear that metal shaking. And I turn around to look, because human nature is, if there's a loud noise, you look to see what it is, because if it's scary, you gotta run. If it's not, you kind of want to see what's going on. So I turn around, and this guy had rammed his cart into this poor lady's ankles because he wasn't paying attention. Now, to me, let it go. I was like, poor lady. She was quiet for a minute. She started cursing him out in Spanish. He got really defensive. Like, why are you yelling at me? And I was like, well, you just took out this woman. I'd be angry too. Goes on. We leave. We're walking through the parking lot to the car to put our groceries away and go home. And he goes, he hit her because he was staring at your butt, right? Me? Oh. Whoops. So a lot of times when this kind of happens, not my husband, because he's amazing and he doesn't blame me, he blamed him, but a lot of the times when things like this happen, people will blame the woman. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't dressed in like a cocktail dress with a sign that says, stare at me, begging I'm single. I'm happily married. I'm in a relationship, and I've been in a relationship for the last year and a half, almost 2 years now. I'm not looking for anybody. I was not dressed promiscuously. I was wearing shorts because it's Texas and it's summer and it's hot. And I was wearing a t-shirt with tennis shoes. This is what I wear on a regular basis because it's what's comfortable to me. But this guy took it upon himself to stare at me, which caused an accident to hurt this other woman. A lot of times we blame me in that situation. Well, he shouldn't have been dressed like that. He was distracted. It was your fault that he couldn't pay attention and he hit that woman. I'm sorry, what did I do? I was grocery shopping. If anything, it's his fault for looking at somebody, and not paying attention. Granted, on the parking lot, my husband was like, he should have just looked and paid attention. Simple multitasking. I was like, first of all, he doesn't multitask very well, so shouldn't be talking. But anyway, and this happens a lot. When you go out you want to look beautiful. You want to wear a dress, or you want to do your makeup nice and pretty, and you want to do your hair, and you want to look good. I don't wear my makeup for guys because, let's be honest, y'all can't notice anything other than, oh, she looks pretty. It's like, listen, I worked really hard on this eyeliner and I didn't smudge this red lipstick. You're not going to notice. The woman next to you is going to notice and say, you did a good job. And I'm going to say, yes, I did. I don't do it for guys. I do it for me because I enjoy doing it, and for the women to notice all the hard work I put into it. Most of the time, guys don't even care or notice. Most of the time, I do these videos without any makeup on because I'm just not feeling it, or I just worked out, or I don't know, I didn't feel like doing it today. I'm not doing it to do anything other than I thought it'd be fun. But when we wear this makeup that's statement and it's being a little ostentatious, suddenly it's our fault when things happen. If I'm wearing something that I thought was pretty, or a dress that, let's say, I went out and bought with my mom because I thought it was really nice, but somebody thinks it's showing too much figure, or it's got too much this, or it's too short. Most of my dresses go to my knees and I still get the it's too short. Yeah. I think we need to start focusing a lot less on what we look like and a lot more on why men behave this way. And a lot of the time, it's the way we raise them, the way we treat them. When guys are violent, we don't say, hey, quit that, learn how to communicate. We tell them, boys will be boys, they're tough, they rumble tumble. I understand that men and women are different, and growing up, I wasn't the one putting a frog under my hat, my husband was, because we're different, and he thought those things were cool, and he also liked to go outside and play with, like, bow and arrow and guns, not play, but safely play, and, like, use tools and be outside and do all these boy things. I just wasn't as into it, but he was still taught a lot of the basic things, which is respect people and control yourself. And that's what we need to be telling people versus, boys will be boys. They're tough. They like to do this. They get into trouble doing all of this stuff. No, they need to be held just as accountable as everyone else. And a lot of the times that doesn't happen. And it really upsets me when I'm watching all of these news articles that are coming out, and especially ones that are about rape cases where, well, we don't want to ruin his life. But at the same other side of the conversation, if she got pregnant and she wanted to do something about it, like an abortion, I'm still not for abortion, but I can see where she's coming from. She didn't have a choice. Somebody took that from her. But she's suddenly viewed as she's a terrible person and she's doing all of this stuff wrong and she's, I'm sorry? It's her fault that she got pregnant now? I'm sorry, I thought it was the guy who couldn't control himself. But we don't want to ruin his life. But she has to keep this kid. And then we still say, well, she's ruining her life. She shouldn't have done that. She should have. For a young woman, I was not on birth control for the longest time. Why? Because I was not sexually active. You don't really need it. There's a few reasons why you wouldn't need it other than having sex. And part of the reason you would use it is some people have really bad acne and it calms down when you use them because they're hormonal and it helps. Other things are like when you have your period and you're cramping a lot, sometimes having birth control helps. And then, of course, if you're sexually active, prevents you from getting pregnant. But if you were like me, my acne wasn't that bad. I just used a face wash. My cramps weren't really that bad. And I wasn't having sex, so why did I need it? But if somebody had decided that, oh, I don't know, I looked too good or I was asking for it and decided to take advantage of me and I got pregnant, suddenly it's my fault because I wasn't doing what I needed to take care of myself. I was taking care of myself just fine. Somebody else decided it was their decision what I was doing, or assumed that because of the way I dressed or because of the way I look, I was asking for it. Let me tell you real quick, if you're curious what asking for it looks like. Hey, I would like to have sex with you. Do you want to have sex with me? That's asking for it. That is literally asking for it. Holding up a sign that says, I would like to have sex with you. That's asking for it. Getting dressed up because you want to feel pretty and going out to drink because you want to enjoy a drink, that's not asking for it. That's going and enjoying your life. And it upsets me so much because if guys go out, like I have friends that are guys, my husband is a guy, surprise, surprise, and they want to go out. They go out to a bar and they have a drink. And some guys go with the whole, we talked about the shirts that are cut on the sides, or, you know, they're by a pool and they have their shirts off and they're enjoying themselves. That's okay, but when I go and wear my swimsuit at a pool, I'm asking for it. Or if I'm at a bar and I'm drinking, I'm asking for it. Now, I do understand, and other comedians have tackled it too, because it's a lot easier to talk about when it's comedy-based. Yes, we can do some more things to be more careful. And one comedian, and my husband introduced me to him, and it was a really hilarious take, that it was essentially, if you show up in a police uniform, don't be surprised if people assume that you're a policeman. If you show up looking and dressing like someone that's a little more promiscuous, don't be surprised if somebody assumes it. Now, this is not to be mistaken for asking for it. You can dress however you want, but if people start to assume that you're, you know, into something or you want something, I mean, you're kind of dressed like it. Doesn't give them the right to take advantage of you. It just means that you kind of have to accept certain things. When I dress up in I have a fitted black dress, and it's just one of my favorites. If I go out that way, I understand. I might get looked at. People might ask for my number. People might hit on me. And that's okay. I really don't mind when people come up and say, hey, I think you look really pretty, or hey, you look hot, depending where I'm going. Sometimes you get the whole sexy thing, and I have mixed feelings about that. But I mean, I can understand you're gonna admire somebody. I do it too. If I see this guy in a really nice suit, I'm like, hey, you look good. That doesn't give me the right to go and take his choice from him. And that doesn't give them the right to take my choice from me. And part of the reason I'm so passionate about it, and I try to talk to people about it, is because it surprises how many people don't know about it sometimes. I had somebody come up to me the other day after going to like a seminar on it, and they were talking about women receiving pictures on their phone. Okay, there's no really nice way to play it. Women getting dick pics that they don't want. There's really not a lot of ways to say that. And they say that doesn't really happen. Like, it only happens with, like, if you're talking to a guy and he sends you pictures. First of all, this is still unsolicited. Unless you specifically ask them for pictures, or you're in a consensual, like, I send you pictures, you send me pictures kind of thing. That's okay, because you're talking about it and you've already established that that's what you want to do. However, if you're talking to somebody and somebody just sends you this because they're assuming that you want to see their stuff, which, let's be honest, almost no one does. This is unsolicited pictures that you don't want to see. And somebody talked to me and said, this doesn't really happen, right? When I was 13 or 14, I'd gotten my first cell phone from my parents on their plan, and it was specifically to text them because I was in the band and we would go on trips, and I would need to text them when I was leaving, when I got there, when we were heading back, and when they should come pick me up. Typical, when you're taking care of your kid, you kind of want to know when to go get them. And sometimes these trips would be like, we're going to get here around 4 o'clock. If we're running late or running early, they kind of want to know when they're supposed to come get me, so I'm not just waiting there forever. When I had this phone, though, I got a text message from a number I didn't recognize. And not super surprising, you send your number to friends, and everybody's financial situation is different, and my number changed when my parents went from a prepaid to a cell phone on a plan, and so some might have been a friend that changed their phone number. I opened this picture, and I still regretted doing that, and it was, you guessed it, a dick pic. Flipped it over right away. I'm 13 or 14. I know everybody kind of starts differently. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what I kind of guessed. kind of smart, but didn't know who this person was, had never seen it before, didn't want to see it, trust me. I'm freaking out. I'm sitting there, you get that cold shiver down your spine like something bad just happened, and you're just going, oh, what do I do with this? Gave my phone to my parents and said, I got a picture, I don't know who it's from, I don't know what this is, like, I didn't ask for it, trust me. And they looked through it, ended up taking care of it for me, but this stuff happens. And people still believe, no, it's only if you ask for it, or when you're flirting with somebody and they get missed signals. No, it really doesn't. And it really shouldn't, because as a 13, 14-year-old, I didn't want to see it. I didn't need to see it. Yet I did, because somebody assumed that they had a right to be sending this stuff out. And if you did this in public, it would not be okay. It's a thing that if you're in public and you expose yourself, man or woman, you can be arrested for it. It's called public indecency. And why is it okay if you're sending it on your phone? And there's so much more to this issue, but I just kind of wanted to touch on it a little bit because it's really important to me. Because it bothers me that I have to live differently than my husband. Just because we're different genders. It bothers me that when I went out to check the mail the other day, because I was wearing a dress, somebody honked at me. It bothers me that when I'm bagging my groceries, some poor woman got hurt because some guy was staring at me. It bothers me that when I go out to drink with friends, or even with my husband, I have to be really careful to look at my drink and keep an eye on it and put my hand over the top. It bothers me that people assume they have a right to me because I look a certain way or because I dress a certain way. Nobody should ever have to feel that somebody else has a right to their body. Even my own husband, if I didn't want to sleep with him or I just didn't want him to touch me, he doesn't have a right to me. He only has the right when I give it to him, when I tell him, yes, it's okay if you touch me, or yes, I would like to sleep with you too, or give him permission. That is the only way you have a right to someone, is if they give it to you. Because it is their body and their right and their prerogative to give it to whoever they want. Women shouldn't have to worry what they look like. We shouldn't have to stand in the mirror, love a dress, but not wear it because they're afraid somebody else will think something of them, or somebody else will assume and take advantage of them. That is not okay. I should be able to buy whatever dress that I think I look beautiful in and wear it wherever I want. I know today's topic was a little heavy, but I thank you all for watching, and hopefully this helps educate some people. Next time I hope to kind of talk a little bit about on the other side of it, all of the guys that always love to say, well, I don't feel like I can tell a woman she's beautiful. That's a whole nother issue. But today I just kind of wanted to bring a little bit of light on this issue. You don't have a right to somebody else. That's it. Plain and simple. Thanks for listening.